What's happening, guys? Hope you guys are doing well. Got a question on Twitter, hashtag AskFurious. Does beer or alcohol really slow down muscle growth? A very, very common question, a very scary question, especially for the noobs out there. And it's, I think, a very heated question. It's a question that's often debated, and here is my honest opinion about it. If you don't know my lifestyle, if you haven't seen my videos about this, then obviously get informed or whatever. I do beer reviews, for Christ's sakes. I love beer. I'm not an alcoholic or anything like that. I just love the flavor of beer. I love the taste. When I drink beers, it's only a few. Once in a while, I get intoxicated and I have a good time because, well, I'm young, and while you're young, you want to have fun. That being said, where does alcohol play a negative role in, trying to grow muscle and everything like that? Well, it has been shown that, the protein synthesis the protein synthesis deteriorates or slows down. It's not as good when you do have alcohol within your system. When you are drinking alcohol, protein just doesn't get absorbed as easily. And as a result, you're not gaining as much. This becomes a very big concern, especially if you're a massive bodybuilder, if you're a pro bodybuilder, if you're doing steroids and all that shit in order to gain muscle. Because, well, when you're doing all that, when you are doing steroids, for example, your protein level is super high, super high. And as a result, if your protein level is super high, you want the most optimal protein synthesis possible. Therefore, you'll see a lot of fitness professionals and pro bodybuilders that won't drink alcohol because of this. However, at the same time, I also think that that's kind of bullshit. Because, for example, let's say you take in, this is obviously just my opinion on it, but let's say you're taking 400 grams of protein, you're drinking booze. How much of that protein really doesn't, like, for example, normally if 400 grams of protein gets absorbed within the system, when you are ingesting, let's say, 450 grams of protein, because obviously not everything is going to get processed properly within the system, but let's say taking 450 and you normally you normally process 400 grams into your body. Now let's say you incorporate some alcohol into there. I'm not talking about a shitload of alcohol. I'm not talking about bottles and bottles of booze, but let's say you incorporate some. And as a result, you're only absorbing 350 grams of protein. However, you're not an alcoholic, or you're not drinking on a daily basis. You're only drinking, a couple beers a week kind of thing. Is it really going to affect you? Because the next day, when you have no alcohol in your system, is it going to go up to, you're going to start absorbing, at a normal rate again? So why is it a concern to have a few drinks here and there? In my opinion, it's better to enjoy life and not be anal about all this booze, and simply, try and be conservative, like just ration it. I mean, like, don't obviously have 20 beers a night or anything like that. That will fuck you up. Not only that, will it fuck up protein synthesis and all that stuff, you're gonna feel like shit the next day and simply not be able to lift. That is probably the main factor that I would like to address, is the fact that if you are drinking a shitload, you're not going to feel good the next day. And as a result, there's two things that happen. One, you're going to want to eat a lot of shitty food. And two, you're not going to train properly in the gym. You're going to be tired. You're either going to skip the gym, or two, you're simply just not going to have the strength or the stamina or the endurance in order to complete a solid workout. That is a big factor where, booze doesn't necessarily play a favorable role, I would say. That's pretty much my opinion on the matter. I drink beer on a regular basis. I drink really good beer that I feel is really tasty, And I do it for the taste, not for becoming a drunk bitch or anything like that. I simply just enjoy it. Yeah, and I still get results all the time. I progress with strength and all that. However, when I do get intoxicated, I know how much my workouts suffer the next day. That is why I don't get intoxicated every fucking day. I get intoxicated maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, if you will. But I enjoy it every time, and it's something just to let loose and not become so anal about diets and all that stuff that, you know, a lot of people will start to get anal about everything, and as a result they'll become deprived of booze and junk food and all this other stuff, and that will provoke them to cheat and actually do a lot worse in the long run. Because I feel it's all about balance. It's all about living the right lifestyle. If you have enough balance in your life, then you're going to be able to be more successful for a longer period of time. I'm hoping that ramble made sense. Answered your question, I hope. Probably not, because I'm just a dumbass Canadian, right? Furious Pete. Hashtag Ask Furious if you have a question. Stay sexy, stay hungry.